That a U.S. congressional team led by Congressman Riley Moore has concluded a fact-finding mission in Nigeria and is preparing a briefing for President Donald Trump on alleged widespread killings. The 5-member delegation visited Benue State, meeting IDPs, survivors, community leaders and religious authorities, and also held discussions in Abuja with NSA Nuhu Ribadu and Attorney General Lateef Fagbemi. Speaking on Fox News, Moore described the visit as the most disturbing experience of his career, recounting harrowing testimonies from victims who lost entire families in violent attacks. Now, he said the pattern of assaults, including attacks on churches and IDP camps, strongly suggested that Christian communities were being targeted. Moore added that the group traveled in armored vehicles due to security risks, stressing that their mission was to gather ground truth for the U.S. government's assessment. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arraigned former Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, before the High Court of the FCT. Ngige is standing trial over allegations of contract fraud amounting to 2.14 billion naira, allegedly committed during his tenure in office under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. According to court documents, Ngige faces 8 counts bordering on abuse of office and receiving gifts from NSITF contractors during his tenure from 2015 to 2023. The EFCC alleges he awarded multi-million naira contracts to companies linked to his associate, including Sesimo Nigeria Limited and Zetacom Nigeria Limited. The offences, involving over 900 million naira in questionable contract awards, are said to violate Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. Our correspondent Joshua Imarai is in court right now, and we'll cross over to him for update. Joshua, what more do you know about the charges against the former minister?
Well, good afternoon to you, Blessings. The former minister had his day in court today, particularly the FCT High Court, before Justice Maryam. And the former minister has been accused of actually using his influence as a minister to confer undue advantage to some of his cronies, particularly his friends, and companies allegedly linked to him. He's been alleged to have perpetrated contract fraud in the time where he was a minister under the President Buhari's administration. And he's answering to his crime today, and he took his plea, and he pleaded not guilty to these charges.
So he is taking his plea. What is the next step in this case then?
Well, the former minister, Chris Ngige, took his plea. He pleaded not guilty to all of the 8-count charges leveled before him by the EFCC. And the judge, Justice Maryam, actually remanded Ngige to the Kuje Correctional Facility until Monday, where his bail applications will be heard before or perhaps the trial can start in full force.
All right, Joshua Imarai, thank you for the update on that. Now, still on legal matters, the Supreme Court has overturned the presidential pardon earlier granted to Maryam Sanda, who was sentenced to death in 2020 for killing her husband, Biliaminu Bello, during a domestic dispute. President Bola Tinubu had reduced her sentence to 12 years imprisonment on compassionate grounds. In a split 4-1 decision, the Apex Court affirmed the original death sentence issued by the FCT High Court and upheld by the Court of Appeal. Delivering the lead judgment, Justice Moore Adumain ruled that the prosecution had proved its case beyond reasonable doubt. He further held that the executive acted improperly by attempting to grant a pardon in a culpable homicide case that was still under appeal. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has confirmed an explosion on the Escravos-Lagos pipeline, intensifying concerns over infrastructure safety and risks to nearby settlements. The company reported that the incident occurred on the 10th of December 2025, close to Tebijer, Okpele and Ikpopo in Baramatu Kingdom, after a sudden pressure drop signaled a loss of containment on a line managed by NNPC Gas Infrastructure Company. NNPC said an investigation is underway to determine the cause, while emergency protocols have been activated in collaboration with government agencies and local leaders to limit the impact. The pipeline network is a major supplier of natural gas to power stations in southwestern Nigeria and also supports the West African gas pipeline. Now, joining us to give more details on this is News Central's Austin Azu live in Delta State. Austin, can you bring us up to speed on what the development is? How are the people in that area feeling the brunt of this explosion?
Blessing, of course, the pipeline blast that occurred about 2 days ago has really triggered some uncomfortable atmosphere within those communities, the nations. Of course, predominantly that area is not for fishing. The riverine community areas that are producing most of these crude oil has been experiencing these difficulties. Farmers can no longer go to their farms to go and start their fishing activities, and this has crippled the economy. All we gathered so far that that particular field produced over 2.2 billion per day, and that is estimated to be like what gives a lot of most of these combined gas, and this is likely going to affect the the power supply across the country, and this has caused for a serious concern. However, like what you rightly stated, the authorities said they are looking into what might likely be the likely cause of this accident. But however, some stakeholders within the Niger Delta have equally advocated in time past that most of these multinational oil companies fail to check what they have on ground. Most of these equipment that have been installed over 50 years, most of them have become obsolete, and they needed right attention for them to be servicing them oftentimes. Look at what has happened to this oil field, this gas field at this point in time. Has caused a lot of environmental pollution, and besides that, farmers cannot go to their fishing activities. And this has crippled the economy. Because that this is just within the Yuletide season. So what will be their fate in terms of their purchasing power? And not only that as well, this will equally cripple the economy because this pipeline contributes so much to the national grid. So at this point, they are still expecting that this issue will be handled so that activities within this region can pick up as soon as possible. So that's what we gathered so far at the moment.
All right, Austin Azu, with the update there on the pipeline blast and its effect on the Delta community. Now, the death of Bayelsa State Deputy Governor Lawrence Ewhrudjakpo has now been confirmed by the People's Democratic Party. Anxiety had mounted earlier over the Deputy Governor's health after reports emerged that he had collapsed. Confirming his passing in a statement on Thursday night, the Tanimu Turaki-led PDP, through its national publicity secretary, Ini Ememobong, described the news as shocking. In a statement, the party described Ewhrudjakpo as a trusted and faithful party member, noting that his death has left the entire PDP membership, particularly the faithful in Bayelsa State, in profound grief. Ewhrudjakpo served as a deputy governor of Bayelsa State under Governor Doyediri from 2020 until his death. The Nigeria Immigration Service says its passport digital platform will experience temporary disruptions due to scheduled system maintenance. According to a notice posted on its official X handle, the maintenance will run from midnight on December 12 to 6 a.m. on December 14, 2025. The statement, signed by NIS spokesperson ACI as AS Akinlabi, says the exercise is intended to boost system performance and improve user experience. Users may encounter slow response times, limited access, or brief interruptions while the upgrade is ongoing. The service appealed for public understanding, stressing that the maintenance is essential for a secure and efficient passport system. To legislative matters, the House of Representatives has urged the federal government to reduce airport and other auxiliary charges by airline operators to 50% of its cost during the Yuletide season to help ease the high cost of operations. This followed a motion of urgent public importance moved on the floor of the House by Obi Agwocha, where he raised concerns on the rising cost of domestic airline tickets. While some lawmakers backed the motion, others argued that the cost of operation for airline operations should also be put into consideration. Our House of Representatives correspondent Idong Joseph reports.
From Abuja to Lagos ranges from 400 to 650,000. Even from here to Ilorin,
2 days after the Senate intervention on the alarming air ticket prices, the resumption of plenary at the House of Representatives turned emotional as lawmakers expressed worry over the soaring cost of airline tickets ahead of the Christmas season.
Concerned that the soaring cost of domestic air travel have created a barrier preventing many from returning to their ancestral homes, where shared laughter and family connections are meant to thrive and improve our self-worth.
There have not been any increase in air ticket, the fuel used by air operators. The same pay unit price they were buying in January is the same amount they are buying now in December. So for them to tell us it is because of the increase in air, the fuel, it is unacceptable.
If all of the commodities that we use in Nigeria within this period, festive period, equally decides to increase their prices, what will become of every single Nigerian? They should not lead in this direction.
While warning that the rise in airfares is a social threat to family, not all lawmakers agree.
During heavy weather, aircraft definitely consume more fuel because you don't have a one-way direct landing, more especially in the northern part of Nigeria and even in Abuja here.
The airliners, operators are in business. Therefore, they have to attain the cost of their production, or that is the cost of the extras.
Some argue that the core of the problem lies elsewhere, blaming insecurity and the lack of adequate means of transportation, saying that there is a need to address the root causes.
One of us have suggested that the Minister of Aviation should be invited. Yes, I agree completely. And then take more seriously this issue of insecurity.
I believe that if our roads are fixed very well, fewer people would fly. So we should urge the Ministry of Works to fix the roads.
As activities take shape, the House passed the second reading for a proposed legislation seeking a single tenure for the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, prohibiting the use of foreign currency for domestic transactions, and the issuance of a 3-month notice to the National Assembly before any currency redesign.
This bill is being proposed to amend the CBN Act first on 7 areas.
Other key bills, like a proposal to establish an Armed Forces Medical College in the Federal Capital Territory, creation of additional local government areas in Ekiti State, also passed the second reading. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Our House of Representatives correspondent, Idong Joseph, is on standby in Abuja for more on this story. Idong Joseph, what exactly prompted lawmakers to call for a 50% reduction in airfare? It's not that it's not necessary. We recognize the necessity of it because people are already clamoring for a change in that. But what do you think prompted the lawmakers themselves to request for that?
Well, from all we gathered, it is clear that the sudden rise in the cost of airfare for a journey usually which was supposed to not take more than 200,000 naira, Nigerians are now paying over 400,000 naira. I think that is one of the main reasons why lawmakers are calling for the reduction. And also some lawmakers at the plenary session argued that airline operators have to pay several charges, which at the end of the day of all this money you get to pay for your airline ticket, only 40% of this money goes to airline operators. And so that's another reason why it prompted lawmakers to call for the 50% reduction, because from what they say, they believe that if about 50% of these government-imposed fine and charges are reduced, then it will reduce the cost of operation for airline operators, and in turn help Nigerians to be able to afford the airline ticket for those who have planned to go to the village to meet with their loved ones and have a good time for the Christmas period.
So did the debate on the floor reveal any concrete data on how these charges are affecting the cost of domestic airline tickets?
Of course. From those lawmakers who earlier were opposing the bill, from what they said was that if you buy your airline ticket, you get to see all the charges for what you're paying for, and only about 40% goes to airline operators. Most of those charges you see on the airline ticket goes to the federal government as imposed charges from government. And those are the concrete details I can tell you that they highlighted. Those were the only thing they highlighted as to what would be the reason for this high cost airline tickets.
How did lawmakers who opposed the motion justify keeping the current charges despite the rise in ticket prices? Can you hear me?
You, Blessing. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I'm saying the lawmakers that justified the increase in prices, how did they justify keeping the current charges?
Since we are having a network issue here, I can't hear you.
All right, Dr. Joseph, we'll come back to you with more update. Thank you so much for that. You're still live with us on the 12 Report. We go on a short break, and when we come back, more stories. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Early morning posts by residents in Lokoja drew attention to a major road obstruction along the Lokoja-Ajaokuta Expressway, specifically around Elaite after Jimbe, where multiple trucks had broken down, leaving commuters stranded and raising safety concerns. News Central's Mono Balagbubu visited the scene and reports that 4 trucks were involved, 2 that had been left on the road for several days and 2 more that broke down on Thursday while trying to maneuver around them.
A train of truck breakdowns on the Lokoja-Ajaokuta Expressway this morning left a section of the road in Eliete after Jimbe completely obstructed. What began as 2 abandoned trucks, one left on the road for 3 weeks and another that crashed into it 5 days ago, turned into a wider gridlock as 2 additional trucks broke down while trying to avoid the earlier obstruction.
This motor here was broke down for the past 3 weeks now, and that is how it is. And this man now is coming, 5 days ago now, he's coming and he's sleeping. He doesn't know that this one is on the road. We now hit him. So we deploy our men here to secure this place for the past 4 days now.
This morning, this one also fell on its own. That is what we have been fixing. It has always been happening in this place, and though the road is good, but once it happens like this, the negligence from the appropriate agencies, they will just neglect everything.
For daily road users, the situation has become unbearable. Some fear that if the trucks are not removed quickly, the obstruction could trigger accidents, especially at night.
Our road no good. Our road no good. I think you find governor plan for us.
Drivers caught in the gridlock expressed frustration as they struggled to maneuver through the narrow remaining path. One of the truck drivers, whose vehicle is now tilting dangerously, appealed for urgent assistance.
So in the essence of passing here, our truck won't fall, so we need help to come and push our own to get access to move.
After leaving the scene, the News Central team alerted officials of the Federal Road Safety Corps, who confirmed that calls had been made and that the appropriate personnel were being mobilized to remove the trucks. While residents await that response, the obstruction continues to pose a risk to motorists along the busy Lokoja-Ajaokuta corridor. In Kogi for News Central, Morno Balagbubu.
Now talking security, youths in Plateau State under the aegis of the United Youth Movement for Better Nigeria have called for an end to hate speech on social media platforms, which continue to spread animosity among residents in the state. The national youth leader of the group, Musa Joseph, at a dialogue in the state capital, is calling on stakeholders, traditional leaders and politicians to rein in on their supporters to shun all manners of violence, especially in the digital space.
You can see the picture of His Excellency, Governor Kale Manasseh Mutfwang and Professor Nantawe Yulwada on the banner is because they are the protagonists in this regard. And as the protagonists, we are calling them to call on their supporters to seize the level of animosity we are seeing on the social media space. Let there be a law that will be enacted to checkmate the activities of social media on the plateau, or to create awareness so that our people will understand that Section 39, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended has given you the right to express yourself. But Section 45, subsection 1, listed some fundamentals restricting your right. It should be devoid of hate speech or inciting violence.
The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has praised Enough is Enough Nigeria for 15 years of sustained civic mobilization. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala was speaking at an event in Lagos where leaders from different sectors gathered to reflect on citizen action and the future of public engagement. News Central's correspondent Israel Iferobo reports.
It was a night of reflection and renewal as Enough is Enough Nigeria marked 15 years of mobilizing citizens and demanding accountability. From business leaders to culture shapers, the room echoed with a common message. Active citizenship remains central to Nigeria's democratic future.
If young people spoke up, the rest of us would have to listen. So I urge the audience not to wait and watch, not to ask for permission, but to get up, organize, and make a difference. The purpose is not for violent actions, but for peaceful agency, and importantly, Enough in Nigeria has been about much more than outrage. It has channeled the energy and urgency of so many young people into action.
The World Trade Organization director, who delivered the keynote address virtually, said she was honored to be part of the milestone, commending EIE's role in strengthening civic participation.
15 years of standing up, showing up, and making your voices heard. I'm humbled to be reminded that I myself had played a small role in catalyzing the emergence of this remarkable movement.
When do we come to the realization that perhaps we have done enough damage to this country? We have done enough damage, and maybe we need to stop. And I think this is the point Omobala is making about missed opportunities. Not just missed opportunities, I think sometimes deliberately missed opportunities.
The people feel that they are helpless, they are powerless, which is not true. With the little organization, this is why we try to organize as concerned professionals in 1993.
The evening also marked a major transition for the organization. After years at the helm, Executive Director Yemi Adamuleku stepped down, handing over leadership to a new Executive Director.
It's important because it reinforces that EIA's work is not only needed, but then it will continue, because there are people and ready hands to do the work.
Office of the citizen is the highest office in the land. It's higher than the office of a president. It's higher than the office of your lawmaker. Do you want to know why? Because you put them in office.
I'm here to share my voice on behalf of we on the pop culture side, we on the media, the young people side, to just say that organizations like this shouldn't give up. They shouldn't let the fire die down. It's important the work they do because it contributes to making Nigeria a better place.
As Enough is Enough Nigeria closes one chapter and opens another, stakeholders say the organization's mission, empowering citizens to act, is more critical than ever. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Iferobo.
Nigeria's educational landscape is set for a major shift as the Aliko Dangote Foundation launches a 1 trillion naira national scholarship scheme targeting over 1.3 million beneficiaries across the country. The initiative, described as one of the most significant investments in human capital, places strong emphasis on STEAM learning, technical skills, and girl-child education. Placidia Igwekule put together this report.
In a country where millions of young people struggle to access quality learning, a major step has been taken to expand educational access for young people across the country. The Aliko Dangote Foundation unveiled a 100 billion naira national scholarship scheme.
100 billion naira a year over year for 10 years. 1 trillion naira being invested in pure human capital development.
The program is set to focus on STEAM, technical and vocational training, and girl-child education, areas stakeholders say are critical to closing learning gaps and preparing young Nigerians for emerging global markets.
Yet today, too many brilliant Nigerian students have been pushed out of school by financial hardship. Their dreams are sold not because they lack the talent or motivation, but because they lack support. We cannot allow financial hardship to silence the dreams of our young people.
This is not investment in human capital infrastructure. Not that the infrastructures do not matter, but this is pure brain development.
With the foundation set to collaborate with WAEC, NECO, NELFUN, JAM, and a few other commissions in achieving a merit-based, fully digital system for selection and disbursement. They say the initiative will strengthen transparency and ensures that opportunities reach communities where they are needed the most.
Each local government will have about the same amount. The only thing is that Lagos and Kano will get a highest allocation.
Speakers at the launch applauded Aliko Dangote's commitment, not just as a business titan, but as a figure whose philanthropy has consistently shaped national progress.
We need you to continue to showcase your prowess, your strength for our country.
Representing the president, Vice President Kashim Shettima described Dangote as a national treasure, noting that his impact extends far beyond boardrooms into lives and futures of millions.
The legacy of Alhaji Aliko Dangote is a reminder that greatness is not measured by wealth. Greatness is measured by the number of lives one leads from the shadows into the light. We must learn from his example. There is no legacy more enduring than giving another human being the chance to learn, to grow, and to live with dignity.
In a country where the potential of young people remains one of its greatest assets, this initiative signals a powerful reminder that beyond the number is a long-term vision to building a generation equipped to innovate, compete, and contribute to Nigeria's development story, as they say that where education is prioritized, everything else becomes possible.